Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving right into an absolutely incredible crash course on how organizations are actually run. We're going to take those dense, kind of dry academic theories and break them down into crystal clear building blocks. So whether you're aiming for the corner office, maybe just trying to understand your current boss, or you're fascinated by human psychology in the workplace, you are in the exact right place.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 1. Core concepts. 2. The people in charge. 3. Art versus science. 4. Fayol's 14 principles. 5. Taylor's scientific approach. And finally, 6. Mayo's human touch. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, Core Concepts of Management. What exactly is it? It's a word we hear literally every single day, but defining it is the first crucial step to actually mastering it. So the real kicker here is that management isn't just about doing everything yourself. As you can see, it's the process of working with and through others. And I really want you to notice those two key terms, effectively and efficiently. It's not just about getting the job done. It's about hitting your goals effectively, meaning, on strict time constraints, while also doing it efficiently. That means squeezing the most out of limited resources and a tight budget without wasting a single cent. And we all know how hard that balancing act can be.
To pull off that balance, management follows a pretty clear staircase of functions. You start with planning, which is just thinking ahead about what to do and when. Then comes organizing. Actually, think of it like an event planner mapping out a massive conference. You have to distribute authority and decide which department handles what. Next up is staffing, where you actually recruit the right people for those roles. After that is directing, which is all about guiding and motivating your team. And finally, controlling. This is absolutely crucial. It's where you check your actual end results against your initial plan to see if you hit the target or if you somehow drifted completely off course.
Moving right along to Section 2, the people in charge. Who does the managing? Now that we know the steps, we need to see who's actually executing them, because not all managers are doing the exact same thing. Authority naturally flows downward, right? At the very top, you've got your top-level management, your CEOs, your founders. They set the long-term vision and the overarching goals. But they aren't down there doing the groundwork. They pass those big goals down to the middle level. These are the department heads who translate that grand vision into specific, actionable tasks. Finally, they hand it off to lower-level management. These are your supervisors right on the floor, the ones guaranteeing the daily workforce actually meets the standard and maintains quality day in and day out. Which brings us to Section 3. Art, science, or profession, the nature of management. Looking at those levels sparks a really fascinating historical debate that theorists have been arguing about for decades. What's so interesting here is the stark contrast. Management is truly an art, because every single manager applies their skills in a highly personalized way. Think about it. Just like two dancers will perform the exact same choreography with completely different individual flair, two managers will motivate a team entirely differently. It takes practice, it takes creativity. On the flip side, it completely fails to be an exact science. Why? Well, a chemical reaction in a lab is going to happen the exact same way in New York as it does in Tokyo. But human behavior, it constantly changes. You simply can't perfectly predict people, which means management lacks that rigid, universal scientific validity.
All right, Section 4, Henri Fayol's 14 principles, structuring the chaos. To try and bring a little bit of universal order to that totally unpredictable human element, we're going to jump back in time to meet Henri Fayol. He laid out 14 legendary principles to keep massive organizations from just descending into total chaos.
We can kind of group Fayol's massive list into two parts. These first few focus heavily on structure. For example, he advocated for the division of work, breaking giant tasks down into small, specialized jobs. He also pointed out the vital balance between authority and responsibility. I mean, think about it. You absolutely cannot give a mechanic the heavy responsibility of fixing a broken machine without also giving them the basic authority to unlock the tool room. Makes sense, right? He also pushed for unity of command, insisting that every employee should only ever have one direct boss to prevent a nightmare of conflicting orders.
Now the remaining principles flip to focus on human relations. One of the most fascinating ones is the subordination of individual interest to the general interest. So imagine the CEO's son works at the company, and he wants the workday to start at 1 p.m., just because he likes to sleep in. Fayol says, no way. The company's need for morning productivity always outweighs any one individual's desire. He also championed esprit de corps, strongly urging managers to scrub the word I from their vocabulary and replace it with we.
Saying, "We accomplish this," instead of "I," builds massive team unity and morale.
That takes us to Section 5, Scientific Management by Taylor, the quest for ultimate efficiency. While Fayol focused on the broad, top-down administration of a company, our next visionary, F.W. Taylor, took a totally different route. He viewed the raw factory floor through an absolute microscope.
Taylor's core philosophy was science, not rule of thumb. He basically argued that hit-and-trial guessing was a massive waste of human effort and company money. Instead of just letting workers figure things out as they went along, he believed a manager had to rigorously, mathematically study the tasks to find the one absolute best method. And once they found it, everyone had to perform it exactly that way. No exceptions. To enforce this, look at how radically Taylor divided supervision. He called this functional foremanship. Instead of just having one boss, he put 4 specific clerks up in an office just to handle the mental planning, tracking time, cost, and discipline. Then he placed 4 completely distinct bosses down on the factory floor, a speed boss, a repair boss, a gang boss, and an inspector, just to ensure execution, machine readiness, and quality. He literally split the brain of management from the muscle.
And his obsession with efficiency didn't stop there. He developed intensive work study techniques. In his motion study, he analyzed every single physical movement to eliminate unnecessary actions. Like, he'd stop factory workers from walking 2 extra kilometers across a plant just to fetch their daily parts. He'd just put the parts next to the workers. He also brought in a differential piece wage system. Say the daily target is 10 units. A worker making 8 might get $5 a unit, but a worker who makes 12, they get $6 a unit. He paid a higher rate exclusively to the most efficient producers to financially force maximum output.
But man, you have to admit, this intense, robotic focus begs a massive question. While Taylor's methods absolutely skyrocketed production, it leaves us wondering, are humans really just machines? Are we honestly motivated solely by a bigger paycheck, a scientifically timed rust break, and optimized physical movements?
Section 6, Mayo and the Human Touch, Beyond the Factory Floor. That perfect question brings us to our final pioneer, Elton Mayo. Mayo came in and completely flipped the script on Taylor's cold mechanical worldview, bringing the human soul right back into the workplace.
We call this the Mayo shift. He's famous for his illumination experiments, where they tested if brighter lights made workers produce more. And surprisingly, they found that productivity went up whether they brightened the lights or dimmed them. Why? Mayo proved it wasn't the physical conditions at all. It was a psychological boost. The workers felt valued, listened to, and respected simply because management was actually paying attention to them and asking for their input. Mayo proved that human feelings, interpersonal relationships, and feeling like part of a team drive productivity just as much, if not way more, than a few extra dollars. So we've journeyed from strict planning through Fayol's structural discipline and Taylor's cold efficiency all the way to Mayo's focus on the human heart. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. Now that you know the principles, are you just going to organize the moving parts, or are you ready to actually inspire and lead the people? Thanks for joining us.